You know, every single year, some of the most powerful people on the entire planet all gather in this one tiny town up in the Swiss Alps. And that place, of course, is Davos, the home of the World Economic Forum. So let's jump right in and decode what the big conversations from their latest meeting actually mean for the rest of us. And that's a totally fair question, right? Why on earth should a meeting of CEOs and world leaders way up in the mountains matter to you? Well, it's because the decisions, and maybe more importantly, the strategic shifts that happen there, they create these huge ripple effects that eventually reach your job, your wallet, and your future. We're going to connect those dots for you. All right, first things first, let's just clear something up. You know, despite what you might read online, the World Economic Forum is not some secret group running the planet. It's really better to think of it less as a world government and more like the world's most influential high-stakes conference. At its core, it's a platform. It's a place where leaders from business, government, and civil society can all get in the same room to try and figure out huge, messy problems. We're talking everything from climate change to economic meltdowns. The goal isn't to pass laws, it's to try and find new ways to actually solve these global headaches. So this was the official theme for the year. And what's so interesting about it is the tension that's baked right into the sentence. It's basically admitting, hey, the world is fractured and divided. But at the same time, it's insisting that the only way forward is to keep talking. That's the tightrope they're trying to walk. Okay, so what was actually on the agenda? What were they talking about? Well, it all pretty much boiled down to a global to-do list, focusing on 4 massive priorities they believe we absolutely have to get right and get right now. And here they are, the big 4. Number 1, restore dialogue. 2, take AI from this cool, hyped-up thing and actually put it to work in our industries. 3, stabilize a really shaky global economy. And 4, stop just making climate pledges and start building real, bankable projects. Yeah, that's a pretty ambitious list, right? But, and this is the absolute crucial point, there was this collective feeling in the room, this realization that to even begin to tackle this list, the old playbook just wasn't going to cut it. The way the world has tried to solve big problems for decades, it's just not working anymore. Something fundamental had to change. And that realization leads us to a completely new way of thinking. And honestly, it's probably the single most important takeaway from the entire event. We're seeing this major shift away from the old dream of getting everyone to agree on everything. This really captures the whole change in mindset. The old way was all about global consensus, trying to get almost 200 countries to sign the exact same document. It's painfully slow, and a lot of the time it just falls apart. The new way is all about targeted coalitions, small, agile groups of countries and companies that just decide to go solve one specific problem, and they get on with it. Now, the official fancy term for this is variable geometry partnerships. I know, it sounds super complicated, but the idea is actually really simple. Just imagine you need to secure a supply of lithium for batteries. Instead of a decade-long global treaty, a few key countries and companies just form a dedicated partnership and get it done fast. It's practical, it's focused, and it's built for purpose. And what's driving this shift? Well, another key idea that was buzzing around is this concept of strategic sovereignty. This is the idea that countries are now prioritizing their own national security and independence, sometimes even over pure economic efficiency. Think about bringing manufacturing back home or controlling your own data, even if it actually costs a little bit more to do so. Okay, so we've got these huge ideas floating around: targeted coalitions, strategic sovereignty. But what does any of this high-level grand strategy stuff actually have to do with you and your daily life? Well, let's bring it right down to earth. Because believe me, these ideas do not stay in the Swiss Alps. They travel from those corporate boardrooms, they get baked into government policies, and eventually they land right at your doorstep. Let's just trace the path, shall we? That big idea, strategic sovereignty, it leads companies to spread out their supply chains so they aren't reliant on one country. What does that mean for you? Well, it might mean more reliable access to goods, but it could also mean higher prices. Or how about the push to industrialize AI? That creates a mad dash for energy and data, which leads to completely new jobs in managing all that AI. And the quiet acceptance of sticky inflation? Well, that means companies are going to protect their profits, which likely means those higher prices are the new normal for you. Now, hearing all of this, it can sound a bit, daunting. But just understanding these shifts is the critical first step to adapting to them. These changes are happening whether we like it or not. So the real question becomes, how can you position yourself to navigate them?
So let's talk about a potential action plan. When it comes to your job, you might want to focus on what's called AI literacy. And no, that doesn't mean you have to become a coder. It just means knowing how to manage and work alongside these new automated systems. For your investments, it might be worth considering the sectors that are literally powering these shifts. We're talking energy, data centers, and defense tech. And for your overall personal strategy, the name of the game is resilience. In a world that's getting less predictable, diversifying your own resources is absolutely key.
Now, it's not all sunshine and roses. This new, faster, more fragmented approach is definitely not a silver bullet. The leaders at Davos were also very clear about the massive, massive risks that could completely derail this whole new strategy.
And the number one risk that they kept coming back to is something called the implementation gap. Basically, this is the giant chasm between the ambitious vision, especially for AI, and our actual physical ability to make it happen in the real world.
And this shows the problem perfectly. The amount of energy that these new AI data centers need is just skyrocketing. But our supply of clean energy, it's not keeping up. Not even close. If we can't build out the power grid fast enough, the whole AI revolution could literally stall out, just because we can't find a place to plug it in. And that energy gap, it isn't the only challenge. There's a very real risk that these new, nimble coalitions only benefit the wealthy nations, which would make global inequality even worse. There's a looming debt crisis that could cripple spending on essentials like healthcare and education. And the real irony, this new, fragmented approach could make it even harder to solve the truly global problems that really do need everyone on board.
And so that leaves us with the final, maybe the most critical question of all. This new model of agile partnerships is designed for speed, it's designed for efficiency, but by its very nature, it is not inclusive. In a world that is choosing to move forward in smaller, faster, more exclusive groups, who gets left behind? That's the crucial question we all need to be thinking about as these global strategies continue to play out.